Chapter 4 Flaw in My Code. The one thing is, to get your wings to work, I must rewire your brain, he said. A dark laugh came from his throat as the 6 ponies looked at each other with their ears pinned. Now, Rainbow, AJ started. I'll do it, Rainbow cut her off, stepping forward with a nod. What? The others said in unison, their pupils shrinking in shock. Now, darling, think this through, Rarity shudders. Yeah, I know you want your wings back, but he's gonna mess with your brains, Pinky said. The doctor watched them with his wide smile. Technically, it's brain, not brains. I can leave you two, he said. No, I want to do it, Rainbow cut him off. She turned to her friends and gave them a comforting smile. Listen, I know this is risky, but if I don't try, then I can't get my wings back. And I'd rather be dead than live in a world where I can't fly. Twilight stepped forward to say something, but AJ put a hoof in front of her and looked into Twilight's eyes, shaking her head. I don't agree with it either, but she has made up her mind, and we must respect that, AJ said, setting her hoof down and smiling at Rainbow. Yes, that's all very good, but so much to do in so little time. Let's get you flying again, he said, gesturing towards Rainbow and trotting down a hall. They all start to follow, but he stops and his horn lights up with a yucky greenish yellow magic. Just her, he said, using his magic to stop them. You can wait here, he motioned to the entrance. They all gave Rainbow a sad look and gathered around her. They gathered in a group hug. Stay safe, Sugar Cube, Applejack said. When they let go, they all watched as the blue mare disappeared into the dark and the yellow magic soon was invisible. Well, I guess all I can do now is wait. Come on, girls, Twilight said, and they unwillingly went back to the dark entrance of the house. It was late at night when they entered the castle, and the early light of Celestia's sun could barely be seen peeking through the clouds. The 5 mares were all asleep on the ground close to each other. They all jutted awake when they heard the sound of metal growing louder. The doctor appears and looks at them before stepping to the side. Rainbow came out from the shadows with a big metal wing folded on her sides, and a metal plate on her head, just barely visible from under her mane. Each feather was made from a thin, shiny piece of metal attaching to a long one that looked like a wing bone. Rainbow looked tired, and the color of her blue coat looked dull. So now, dear, try opening them for me, please, the doctor's voice interrupted. Her droopy eyes looked at her friends before she nodded at him. She sat there for a moment in silence before she let out a grunt. At first, nothing happened, and she let out little noises as she tried. Then, they slowly started to move, and the metal squeaked as it rubbed against each other. Rainbow arches her back, and her wings opened fully. She let out a sigh and was shaking a bit. Good. They will take some time to get used to, but they should work just fine. Rainbow folded the wings before collapsing. You should probably take her home. I assume she is tired, he said. AJ picked her up, and they made their way to the door, wanting to leave. They exit, and Applejack and Rainbow being in the back. Applejack looked back to see the doctor with pupils like pinholes and a wide toothy grin. It made her blood run cold, and she quickly went to the balloon. They took off, leaving the smiling doctor behind. They took Rainbow home and helped her through the weekend. They cared for her, and they were all worried. Applejack couldn't stop thinking about the doctor and his evil smile. She found herself waking up at night in a cold sweat, screaming, then looking over at Rainbow. She was happy, so it was the right thing to do, right? Monday came and Rainbow Dash went back to the Wonderbolt training grounds for the first time in months. The rest of the team was gathered around listening to Spitfire as she walked into the field. Alright, every pony, today I want... She stopped, looking over at Rainbow Dash, whose head was down and her ears droopy. She was slowly walking towards them, hoping to not be noticed. Crash, Spitfire said, almost excited? She glided over to her and put a wing around her. "What's up, rookie? I'm surprised to see you back here," she said, her eyes traveling from her eyes to the shiny wings rested on her back. The others come over to her as well and smile, excited to see their teammate back and okay. Well, all but Lightning Dust. She was hovering above them, giving her a dirty stare. "Hey, look at those wings! Now that's what I'm talking about," Soren said, holding out a wing for a wing bump. Rainbow slowly bumped her wing with his, and she couldn't help but smile. "Can't believe I'm back here. I missed it so much," she finally said, puffing out her chest. As the excited chatter continues, Spitfire cuts in. Alright. We're all excited to see Crash back, but that doesn't mean being late is okay. Let's go," she said, pointing to the sky with a wing. They took off, flying past her. "Crash, I expected nothing but the best from you," he said, speeding off, following them. Rainbow was about to take off for the first time with her new wings when a sharp pain came from her head, and she clapped her hoof over the spot. "Ow!" she mumbled under her breath. "So, how are you, Crash?" a scratchy, unfriendly voice said. Rainbow looked up to see Lightning, and she pinned her ears. "You want Lightning Dust," Rainbow spat, still holding her head over the metal plate. "Such hostility. It's not very nice. I understand you could be jealous of us better flyers," she said, with a smirk as she circled the blue mare. Rainbow's pupils grew, then shrunk as she glared at the other mare. "Better? I'm just as good as you, if not better," she shouts. Lightning Dust laughed. "Wake up, Crash. This isn't a dream, it's real life. Before, you always messed up. Yeah, you were fast, but clumsy. Now you're not even a pony. You're a machine. And soon, when you can't keep up, Spitfire will retire you, and then no pony will be in my way," she said, getting in Rainbow's face. Rainbow's guard dropped for a minute, and fear flashed in her eyes. Lightning Dust laughed before backing up. She crouched to take off and looked back. "Try to keep up, Rainbow Mech," she let out an evil laugh as she took off, leaving a thunder crack. Rainbow sat as another wave of pain shot through her head. She watched her team fly as the other mare's words flooded her thoughts. "Crash, get up here," Spitfire's voice came, interrupting her thoughts. Rainbow let out a gulp and took off. She flapped her wings in unison for a while, the feeling of the heavier metal setting her off balance. She soon got the hang of it and flapped her wind hard, pushing air and gaining height, joining the others. She went through practice slower than the rest of the group, stabbing pain shooting from the metal plate all throughout her head every hour or so. Practice finally ended at around 8 p.m. and everyone headed to the locker room to suit down and take a shower. Rainbow limped in behind the rest, heading straight to the showers because of not suiting up earlier. She walked into the steaming water, steam all around. Rainbow's wings seize and her back and neck cramp. "Oh, sweet Celestia," Rainbow cries out and drops to her knees. A burning pain worse than the others rippled through her. Her breathing quickens, and her vision started going in and out. She looked over to see Spitfire and Soren next to her. Lightning Dust stood in the door with a smirk. "Rainbow," Spitfire and Soren's voice were muffled by the rapid heartbeat in her ears. She pinned her ears and let out another cry of pain before completely passing out on the wet floor. Spitfire kneels down and puts her ear up to her mouth, still breathing. She stood up straight again and looked to the other members. "She's breathing." They all let out a sigh of relief. "Does anybody know where she lives to take her home?" Spitfire asked, looking at all of them. They all shook their heads, and she stopped at Lightning Dust. "I do," Lightning said with a smirk. The clopping sound of her hooves on the floor rung through the quiet showers. "I can take her home," he said, and knelt down next to Rainbow. Soren helped her pick up Dash. She held Dash with her wings, folding her wings over Dash's legs. When Dash regained consciousness, her vision was blurred. She blinked a couple times, and Lightning became clear. A clear grin on her face, and she bent down. Rainbow was resting on her couch and straining her neck, Well, 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 she said. What do you want? Rainbow said, looking around and flattening her ears when pain went through her head. Listen, Crash, I'm gonna be short and sweet. Don't bother coming back because the Elite Wonderbolts are for ponies only, not machines. You're slow and useless, so just don't bother. Rainbow looked at her with wide eyes and looked down, her head drooping. Lightning puffed out her chest and spat on the blue mare. Bye-bye, Crash, she said, pivoting her back legs and leaving the cloud home. Rainbow Dash lifted up one of her wings and looked at it. She scoffed at her metal parts and stood up. The metal was dull and scratched against each other. It pinched her skin because it was slightly bleeding. She took a couple of steps before pain radiated throughout her whole body. She stumbled forward and put a hoof on the cloud wall, her eyes bulging out in pain. Her whole body shook and blood started to run down from the metal plate and from where the wings attached to her body. She shook and closed her eyes. She laid on the floor for many minutes, with her eyes screwed shut and blood flowing down her body. All of a sudden, the pain stopped, and something in Rainbow's mind switched. She opened up her eyes, and her pupils were tiny. She started to giggle, and her smile slowly grew. Her giggle turned into hysterical laughter, and she slowly stood up, unfolding her wings. Cuts ran up and down her sides, and the metal was covered in some blood. The joints were a little stiff from being underwater. Heh, I won't go to practice tomorrow. Heh, she burst out laughing and threw her head back. Her neck was bent back impossibly far, and she looked to the side. Because there won't be one. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Chapter 4 of Gasoline. And quite honestly, Lightning Dust is going to have some bad shiz coming her way, I'm being completely honest. But thank you everyone for tuning in and whatnot. The support is very appreciated. Hope you guys like the reading. Comment, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Stay safe, everyone. Shine bright, my stars. And until next time, deuces.